friends, hi, how are you? I hope that today finds you all so well. Today I am going to share with you all some of my absolute favorite brushes to use on my eyes. So this is all about those great eye brushes that work well with small eye shapes, hooded eye shapes. I do have eyes that are slightly hooded, so I do have to get some really meticulous work done with my eye makeup. So I wanted to share with you my top brushes. I believe there are about 10 here. The brushes that I use, but also the ones that I have in my collection that are very similar, maybe a different price point. So there's going to be a little bit of everything here for you today as far as those brushes go. But thank you for coming to spend a little bit of your time today with me. I appreciate all of you so very much. For those of you new here, hello, my name is Donna. I love all things colorful, high-end beauty and self-care. I am a woman over 40 who is going to be your perfect partner in crime that's going to tell you that you can do all the things that they're telling you can't do. Hello, wear the crazy colored makeup, wear glitter on your eyes. I don't do glitter, but sparkles on your eyes, heck yes, do some sparkles on your eyes, do the crazy colorful hair, do what it is that pleases you, that makes you feel confident and good. And here's the true tea. Ain't nobody filling your cup for you but you. So I am here to tell you it's okay. Do what you want to do. Fill your own cup. Be your own voice. So there's that. Hi, hello. I'm so happy to have you here. I hope that you enjoy your time with me enough that you're considering subscribing before you leave today. I also hope that you'll give this video a thumbs up before you leave. And without further ado, top 10 brushes. Here we go. All right. So the first brush I'm going to start with is this one. This is the Luxe Jh42 shader brush. This is a short shader. I'm going to get real close and personal to the screen for you to be able to see what this brush looks like. I'm also going to pop some pictures in here from the brand's websites to show you those brushes in particular. I also used many of these brushes in an eye look, and I will be popping some video of that in for you to see how I work through my eye makeup with these brushes. You know, I do some pretty meticulous work around my eyes. I get pretty creative with my eye looks when I come on to my platform. With that said, I get pretty creative with my eyes in everyday life. The people that I work with would tell you that as well. But also check me out on Instagram because I do put a lot of postings on there of the eye looks that I create. So this one here, the Luxe Jh42, I feel like is best for packing on color, and it also is fluffy enough that it helps you to kind of disperse the color all at the same time. So packing on the color and then also kind of blending it at the same time. It will give you a mid to full like pigment of the colors that you are putting on it because it is rather densely packed, but it is kind of flat also. So I like using it to go in above my crease and pat out that line that I'm expected to end up with at the end of the day with my eye look, and then I will pack it on and then just kind of flip it and also pack it this way so it kind of blends up. Does that make sense? Are you all following what I'm trying to put down here? The Luxe Jh42 is one of my favorite brushes to use for that purpose. I do have some that are very similar to it. This one I got in Ipsy. It is a Shayna B shadow brush, but it looks very similar. You can get these also from Moda, or Real Techniques also has some really great ones. I don't really have any Real Techniques ones left. This one is a little bit less dense and a little bit thinner than the one that I was just showing you. So it's got a few less bristles, so it might work better for the beginner. I would say if you're really great at doing your makeup, you will probably benefit from one of these fluffier, thicker ones. And if you're new, probably a thinner one would do ya. The next brush I want to talk about is this. This is the Sigma E27, you guys. This is my favorite eye brush. This one is really stained, but I do have 3 of these in my collection because you can never have enough. So the Sigma E27 is going to be for precise and controlled blending. It's rounded, it's got a little bit of firmness to it, but it also is a little bit more floppy so you can blend with it. So what I use this for is I put color onto either the very end or all over the side, pack the color on with the flat side, and then flip it and blend. This brush is going to be great for smoky eyes. I love it, especially for smoky eyes, because I can pack it into that outer V and blend it into the crease, but also out to that nice point because it does come up into a very nice thin point at the top, but it's also rounded for great blending. And this brush is going to give you sheer to medium coverage, so you're not going to see a whole lot of that pigmentation. It's great for ending out an eye look and I just love this brush. Like I said, I have 3 of them. I just don't think that you can have enough of these in your collection. I should have done this in some kind of order, but I didn't. So the next one I have for you is actually a Morphe Jh42. And you guys, I don't have another brush like this in my collection, whereas many of these brushes I can come to you with also another brush that is very similar to this. I don't have another one like this. This is rounded. So it's not like pinched. It's also domed. So it's very much like a pinky finger or a Q-tip. I liken it to a Q-tip. It's very dense, so you can put the color onto the tip of it and get right perfectly in there to that inner corner. This is my favorite brush for inner corner highlight. I do know that you can use it also for your brow bone. I don't like this one in particular for my brow bone. I do like a thinner one for my brow bone because this has a lot of pigment that sits on top of it. It's going to give you that full pigmentation, and I don't necessarily want all that in my brow bone. I do want it to diffuse out quite a bit. While this one does blend really, really easily, I do think that I don't like this one so much for my brow bone. I do like it for my inner corner. I also like it for underneath my eye when I'm packing on some of that lower lash line color. This will help to also smudge out, but I use this one mostly for my inner corner. Like, it's going to give you full coverage pigmentation. Great for inner corner. I don't have another brush like it, and I haven't found another brush like it. So the next one I have here is this one, and this is also a Morphe Jaclyn Hill brush. This one is the Jh42, and it looks like this. This one is the one that I use more often than not for my brow bone. I also will use this for an inner corner highlight, but I do prefer the other one for inner corner. This one is flat, so you guys can see it is flat. It does have a little bit of a rounded top to it, so it's perfect for just putting that slight bit of color on the end and then getting into the brow bone area. Because it's rounded, it gets really nicely into that archway without like there being that harsh like line that you might receive with the flat definer brushes that a lot of people use in that brow bone area. This is going to give you full pigmentation also, but I also feel like because it is the shape that it is, it goes on really nicely into that brow bone, and then I can flip it as well and blend it better than I feel like I can do with the rounded one that's going to put a lot of pigmentation into that area, if that makes any sense. So this one is the one that I use for my brow bone quite consistently, actually. Today's makeup is brought to you by brushes I don't always use all the time because I wanted to make sure these brushes were clean when I did this video. So it might look a little wonky, but here we are. All right, so the next brush I have for you is actually this one, and this is the Sigma E20, and it is the short shader. It's just a really nice smudger brush. So it's flat. It does have a little bit of a almost rounded edge to it, but not really. It's very like thick and dense, so you're going to be able to pack some color on there and really get into that lower lash line and buff it out at the same time. This one is going to give you precise application for the ability to smudge as well, and it is flat and bulky, but also precise. It's going to give you that medium to full coverage kind of mindset when it comes to the pigments that you're placing on it. I do have some that are similar, different price points. This is the Morphe M508. So this one is very similar, but quite a bit smaller. Honestly, you guys can see the difference in size. So dependent on your eye shape and dependent on how thin you want that line that you are smudging, I would say that this Morphe one would also work really well, especially if you just want a thin line. So I like to get under my eyes with a lot of color, but I might take this one and smudge out like the eyeliner that I put onto my eye as well. And then I also have this one by Bogashi. This is an Ipsy brush that I received, and I actually quite like it. It's small, it's super short, so it's easy to hold, but it is the exact same shape and like feel of the Sigma brush. So this one would be the one in my collection that's the most similar. I do have a ton of like brushes in here, but these are the ones that I use the most for smudging out my lower lash line. So the next one I have is this, and this runs right in that same kind of mindset for depositing color, but this one is going to be less utilized in my collection for smudging. So this is the E15 flat definer. So again, this is one that I just talked about as far as brow bone color. This is really good for getting in that brow bone color, but I do like a more rounded tip for brow bone so that it filters into the contours of my brow better than the flat definer. This one I use often for stamping on that lower lash line eye color, but I also use these kind to stamp on any color that I might want to blend in to another color that I have on my eye, or create those intricate line work shadows that I do sometimes with multiple different colors in my eye look that just kind of rainbow on top of each other. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is super flat, it is super thin, and it is going to help create any kind of defined line that you're going to need in your eye look. So if I were going to do that on this line, I would get color right on the very tip of this brush and just kind of stamp it onto the eye look where I want it, and then I would maybe use one of those smudger brushes just to kind of blend it a little bit better, if that makes sense. If I want a nice harsh line though, this works perfect for that. It's thin, it applies full pigmentation for whatever it is that you're looking for under eye, on the lower lash line, any lines that you want to create in your overall eye look, and it's especially great for that lower lash line. I do have some that come in at different price points. This is the M410 by Morphe. Same thought process. I think this one is a little bit more flimsy, honestly, than the one from Sigma, but it also is a little bit thinner than the one from Sigma. I do find that, I don't know if you guys can see just how thin these guys are, but I do believe the one from Morphe is quite a bit thinner. I do also have this Jaclyn Hill Morphe Jh42, I do believe it is, but this one I feel like is a lot thicker than the other two. So the next one I have is this, and this is the Sigma E42. This is what this guy looks like. This is going to be best to use for packing and blending into the outer V, into, you know, 2/3 in on the crease. It's going to give you medium pigmentation when you use it to apply colors. I also feel like, as far as blending goes, for a hooded eye or a small lid space, this is the perfect size for a blending brush. It's very small, it's very intricate, and you're going to be able to hit it in a more precise way than you will, say, a blending brush that looks like this, that's a lot more fluffy and is going to disperse a lot better. Granted, these have a place in my eye look. They're, you know, one of the brushes that I'll talk to you about as well, but I do use these ones more so for blending than I do anything else. So I will pack color onto the side of it and pack it into an eye look, and then just kind of use it to blend out the rest of the color that goes into an eye look that I have. I do believe that that is part of the video that I have that I'm showing you, hopefully, at this point in time. I do have a couple others that come in at different price points that are going to be very similar. The Jh40 by Morphe is one very similar in shape. And then the Morphe 506, also very similar in shape. What I would tell you is that if you're going to get Morphe brushes, get the Jaclyn Hill line. These remain soft for a long time. These other little Morphe brushes are not great. They're good in a pinch. I do have quite a few Morphe brushes in my collection. At one point in time, I bought the James Charles collection, then I also bought the Jaclyn Hill collection, so there's that. They're good in a pinch, but you're going to find yourself replacing them often because they do get scratchy. I do feel like that once they get scratchy, they don't blend as well. They just kind of more move the color around on your eye, and they kind of don't feel good either. So I did invest in Sigma brushes actually in 2020, so it wasn't that long ago, and I couldn't be happier that I did it. If you can invest in a good set of brushes, my suggestion would be to do that, because there is quite a difference between what you do with a $9 brush versus what you do with a $2 brush, if that makes any sense. This is probably my favorite brush in my collection besides this guy here, the E27, because, or maybe not favorite, but most used. This size brush is definitely my most used in my collection. And I can't remember if I told you, but with that brush, you're going to see a medium amount of pigmentation that comes across in your eye look. So you can sheer it out if you want to, but it's going to be about how much pigment you're putting on the brush and how much blending you're willing to do. So next brush, through the same lens, is going to be this one here. This is the Sigma E33, and I only have one other brush in my collection that's roughly the same as this, and it's Daddy, which is the Sigma E38. So this one is the Detail Diffused Crease Brush, and this one is the Diffused Crease Brush. So with the little one, the Detail Diffused Crease Brush, this is what it looks like. It is a small round brush, but it is used for precisely blending and diffusing your shadows that you're putting into your eye look. If I go in with, say, this guy here and put color down into my crease, I might go back over it with this one here and just kind of utilize it to diffuse it without putting any more color onto my brush. I don't know if you guys can see, but it does have a little bit of a like splayed out effect to it, and it is rounded on the top. That really does help to to disperse the color where you need it to go. It's just such a different kind of shape than this one. This one is definitely more densely packed, a little less rounded at the top. So this one is going to help sheer out any of the colors that you're putting on to your eyeballs, and it's going to do it in a precise way. So when I say I also use the daddy of that one, this one is the diffuse crease. This one is a little bit thicker, a little bit more dense, and it's going to be the one that I use either like, you know, facing down or facing up, depending on which way I want the color to move. This one is what I'm going to use to meld them all together to become one in my eye look. Same shape, right? Round, kind of domed at the top, but a little less long. It's more stubby and a little bit more dense. All right, the next one is this, and this is the Isam S31. I know it's not a Sigma brush. So sorry. This one was one of the very first like pencil brushes I ever had in my collection, but also one of the very first expensive brushes I ever had in my collection. They are the most amazing brushes, and that was 4 years ago almost. These have lasted me 4 years. They still perform the same way they did 4 years ago. Again, this is what I'm saying. If you can invest in expensive brushes, do it. So this is the Isam S31, and this is it's just a pencil brush. These are going, the pencil brush is going to help you soften and smoke out any lines. It's great for smudging also when you want a little bit more area to smoke. I like it for placing pigments into my waterline because it's soft, it's rounded, it's got a nice rounded tip on it, beautifully tapered as well, so that you can get into some corners of your eye looks without it getting everywhere. I use this often to smoke out any of the lash line in my eye looks. I also use this brush to pack pigment into this very inner corner here. I have eyes that water like no other, so I try not to do, I mean, this one's watering right now. You guys can see the difference in the shadow up there in my crease because my watery eye, it goes up and then into my crease and it takes all the makeup away. So I might take this brush and pack it into that like area where there is a void of the color, and that creates just that color. It doesn't get the water from my watery eyes everywhere. It doesn't take more pigment up with it as it's popping the color onto those voids. I like to use it for this intricate like inner corner work. Like if I'm doing a halo eye, I will use it for the intricate inner corner so that it doesn't get color everywhere. Because I have hooded eyes, sometimes that color likes to land where I don't need it to land for my halo eye, so I do use pencil brushes every single day in my routine. Some other ones, the Esom one is rather expensive. Another one that is very same is the Sigma E30. This is a Sigma pencil brush. I do have 2 of these. These are more of your mid-range price point. What I like best about this one is, I don't know if you can tell, but it does have a little bit more of a tapered edge than that other one did. And then of course the Morphe one, this one is the M431. This is also a pencil brush. It is a little bit longer, but it's also tapered at the top, so it's going to be able to get into maybe those points of your eyes that a rounded edge would not be able to get to. It's going to be a little less, you're going to utilize it a little less as a smudger, but a lot more as putting those intricate details into your eye. I also like to utilize these for blending out those more precise areas of an eye look that I have. Like if I had another color on top of this, in between this green and the kind of like mustard yellow, if I needed to blend out that color into that mustard yellow, I might put some mustard yellow on here and then just use this pencil brush to pat it over the top of that other color to merge the 2 shadows together. So we're down to the last 2 brushes. I think I told you 10. I think there might be 11 here actually, but one of the biggest brushes that I use in my little tiny eyes is this one here, and this is the Esom W30. This is what the top of it looks like, and you guys can see it is a fairly large packer brush. So this guy is great for packing color onto the lid in one fell swoop. So I will maybe put color on, dip it into it, and then just pack the color onto my lid. It works well this way, it works well this way. I prefer to do it like this because it's got that rounded edge to the top of it, so it creates a nice line. This also works really well for packing color into your brow bone if you want a little bit more color going into your brow bone, but I don't use it very often for my brow bone color. I do use it, like I said, to pack color on. This is the perfect halo eye packer because like I can literally get it all done in one fell swoop. Just pack the color onto an eye look. It's rounded, so it creates already that kind of arch in the eye look. It is fantastic. It's very densely packed, so the color isn't going to fall into the brush. You're going to get full pigmentation with this brush for sure. I would say that this is especially great for shimmers because it's so densely packed that the shimmer just sits right on top. I do have a couple of brushes that remind me a whole lot of, this is really the only one exactly like this that I have in my collection. I do have the Sigma short shader brush, and I also have the Sigma large shader brush, which are similar, but they're fatter. I don't like it as much because it is a wee bit fatter, but this is what it looks like. I like this one, honestly, for brow bone more so than I like it for packing colors onto my lids. But it's very similar, it's just not as long, so it's not like perfect for me to get everything done in one fell swoop. I will say though that these Hikari brushes are very, very similar to that one, and these ones I got, I think, in something that I got from FabFitFun, but they're by Hikari. I'm sure that you can pick them up. They came in a case that closed and with like 30 brushes inside, and I didn't like many of the brushes, but I do utilize these. I find that I utilize these a lot when that Isam one, when this one is dirty, or if I want a little bit more intricacy with the eye look that I'm trying to pack on. So you will see that these are very similar in shape and in depth. They're still very skinny and very packed. They're very pinched. This one is a little bit more floppy and this one is a little bit more stiff. But other than that, these two brushes are very, very similar to that Isam one that I was just talking about. They're really good for just packing on a color. Maybe not in one fell swoop with these guys. I do find that I have to work a little bit harder with these Hikari ones, but they still do so well. And I would say, again, especially with shimmers, because with a powder you're going to be able to use almost any brush and still get that oomph, that pigmentation in that powder. But with a shimmer, sometimes they go better on with your finger because all the pigmentation is there on your finger and doesn't get lost into the folds of the brush. This brush is going to do that for you. And for many of you, you know, I hate using my fingers in makeup. I just don't like the texture. Something about the texture that makes me physically ill. So if I can use a brush, I will anytime. So with that said, the last brush that I want to talk about is the full on blown out blending brush. I will say that there is a time and a place for a full on blown out blending brush. I do believe everybody needs one of these in their makeup collection. I would say when it comes to one this size, this is actually, I think, a face brush by Jaclyn Hill, but I use it more for my eyes. This is the Jaclyn Hill 30 and it is by Morphe, and I believe it is a highlighter brush. And while I have used it as a highlighter brush before, I do love this one for laying down that first initial transition shade because I can do it, again, ease, right? I don't want to take 4 years putting on an eye look, even though I like doing crazy intricate eye looks. I don't want it to take me a whole lot of time. So I use this one to pack on that first initial color. So in today's eye look, that might be that mustard yellow shade. I might have put it onto this brush and just really like pushed it into my eye look and up into my brow bone and down onto my lid in one fell swoop. This brush could accomplish that for me, for sure. That's what I would say if you have smaller eyes. That's what I would say you're going to use a blending brush like this for, is really packing on that transition shade that you want to use if you want to use a transition shade. When it comes to these guys, these are both Morphe brushes. This is the Morphe 441. And I'm honestly not sure what this one is. It doesn't have a number on it. It is a Morphe brush. I would say it's probably the same brush. They remind me of the same brush. They operate very, very similarly in my collection. So we're going to say Morphe 441 is the blending brush of choice for myself. I use this much like I use this Sigma diffuse crease brush, the E38, but this one is more precise. So at the end of the day, at the end of the eye look, when I'm done with it, I will take a clean blending brush like this and I will just go over the top of all the shades and make sure that it gets really blended, because your eye look is not going to look amazing with all those harsh lines. So that's what I would use this, is just for merging and marrying and melding all the colors in my eye look with. I don't typically use this for blending any of the shadow I am placing on my lids because it is far too big. I do use these little tiny guys. This one, like I said, is the this one is the Jaclyn Hill 40 that I showed you, the little tiny blending ones that I use for packing in and blending out, that are my favorite blending brush, the one that I have multiples of in my collection, because these are the best blenders in my opinion. These ones are for finishing. These ones are also really good for just finalizing the underneath your eye and really kind of making this pop under your eye to make sure it's all blended. So with that said, you guys, that's all I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed a walk through my favorite brushes to use on my eyes in my eye looks. I really hope that I helped you learn something or gave you some ideas on options for brushes that you can use. I really did try to give you guys some options about the shape that are different price points so that you know that you don't have to go buy expensive brushes to get brushes like what I use to do my eyes. But I would stand on that soapbox and tell you, if you can afford expensive brushes or a good nice set of quality brushes, those are going to be the end all speak all for your makeup game. You don't even know until you know, and if you know, you know. So there's that. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed this video, and I do hope that you want to stick around. I do hope that you are going to subscribe to my channel before you go. I'd love to welcome you into my YouTube family, and I also hope that you'll want to give this video a big thumbs up. It really does tell YouTube that there are people that enjoy my content out there. If you're looking to stick around and watch more from me, YouTube will be suggesting one for you here shortly, but at this time, yeah, guys, that's all I got for you. So I do hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming. I hope that you and yours are staying safe out there, staying healthy, loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And until next time, bye, friends.